Stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's what stories are. But what makes one story better than another is suspense. And when it comes to suspense, no one did it better than Alfred Hitchcock. He could take a simple story, something that could be over in a few minutes, drag it out and make you sweat for 100 minutes. So here's how to master suspense and create tension like Hitchcock did. This is part 2 of our mini-series on screenwriting. If you missed part 1, check it out after this video. Now let's get into it. Before we can talk about how to build suspense, we need to understand the difference between suspense and surprise. Surprise is a plot twist, something unexpected. Suspense is the build-up of tension before that plot twist. Hitchcock understood this and built his stories around it. Let's look at Psycho. Marion Crane is a secretary who steals some money and is on the run. She sees a motel and decides to stay there for the night. She meets the strange but charming Norman Bates, who runs the motel. From there, their relationship develops. Then one night, she goes missing. The police investigate, and we find out that Norman has been killing women and stuffing them in his house. Now, there are 2 plot twists in this story. No, 1, Norman is a killer. And no, 2, Marion is the intended victim. But neither of these are the suspense. The suspense is everything that happens before those plot twists are revealed. This is why movies like The Sixth Sense or The Usual Suspects can be so great. They have plot twists that we didn't see coming, but the real genius is in the suspense. The writers do such a good job of building up tension that even though the story is interlocuted, the audience doesn't see the twist coming. So now that we know what suspense is, let's look at how Hitchcock crafted his dark stories. No, 1, threat. Every good suspense story needs a threat. It doesn't have to be a physical threat, but there needs to be some kind of danger. In Psycho, the threat is Norman Bates. We know from the beginning that he is a bit strange, and we get the feeling that he is dangerous. Hitchcock lets us know this through camera angles, music, and sound effects. For example, when Marion first arrives at the Bates Motel, there's a low rumble in the background. This is meant to foreshadow the danger that's to come. No, 2 stakes. What does the character have to lose? In Psycho, Marion has a lot to lose. She's on the run from the police, and she knows that if they catch her, she'll go to jail. She also has to worry about Norman and his mother, so the stakes are high. The audience is invested in the story because we care about what happens to Marion. 3, obstacles. The main character always faces obstacles in a suspense story. These obstacles create tension and keep the audience guessing what will happen next. For example, in Psycho, Marion has to deal with Norman and his mother, but she also has to deal with her own guilt and paranoia. Number 4, ticking clock. A ticking clock is a great way to create suspense. It gives the audience a sense of urgency and makes them feel like they're rerunning out of time. In Psycho, the ticking clock is represented by the motel's sign. It's constantly flashing, reminding the audience that Marion is trapped there with a killer. Number 5, red herrings. A red herring is something that's meant to distract the audience. It's a false clue or piece of information that leads the audience in the wrong direction. In Psycho, there are several red herrings. For example, the sheriff who investigates Marion's disappearance is a red herring. We're led to believe that he's there to protect Marion, but in reality, he's just a bumbling idiot who makes things worse. Now that you know the basics of suspense, it's time to put it all together. Here's a simple 3-act structure for a suspense story. Act 1. Set up the story and introduce your main character. You need to establish the rules of the world and give the audience a sense of normalcy. For example, in Psycho, Act 1 introduces us to Marion and her everyday life. We see her at work and in her apartment. This helps us to understand who she is and where she's coming from. Act 2. Introduce the threat and raise the stakes. The second act is where the tension starts to build. The audience is made to feel uneasy and uncomfortable, and we start to see the dark side of human nature. In Psycho, Act 2 begins when Marion meets Norman Bates. We immediately get the sense that he's not right, but we don't know how dangerous he is yet. Act 3, the climax. The third act is the payoff. This is where all the suspense comes to a head, and we find out who did it and why. In Psycho, the climax is, of course, the shower scene. This is the moment when we finally see how far Norman is willing to go. Now that you know how to write a suspense story, it's time to go out there and give it a try. Just remember to build suspense by creating a threat, raising the stakes, creating obstacles, adding a ticking clock, and including red herrings. Use this formula to craft your story, and you'll have audiences on the edge of their seats. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos. Until next time, happy writing.